Welcome, amazing agents from across the country. Today is Thursday, March 23rd, 2017, and this is Mastermind call number 118. Amazing how long we've been doing this and made a lot of progress over the last couple of years. Chad, anything you want to share with the group I know you've got a probate mastery class going on now. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, so mastery wraps up on Friday. We've had a really good class. I do want to compliment everybody who has been helping each other in our Facebook group. So if you're on this call and you're not part of our Facebook group for this community, it's All the Leads Mastermind. And as some of you probably know, I've been traveling quite a bit, so I haven't spent a whole lot of time in there, but I did yesterday. And I love that people actually use it to help, that are actually using it to help one another and share scripts. And, you know, it's while I'm getting shut down here on the phones, what would you do? And that's really what it's intended for. So it does my heart good to see that it's being used that way. And I encourage you guys, you know, if you're feeling frustrated and you don't want to reach out to support or something, you've got almost 1,000 peers, people who have done this at some level in their business in that group. So please take advantage of it. I think it's a great tool for us to, you know, to connect with each other and figure out what's working and what's not, other than on these calls. So kudos to you guys who are using that. And if you're not using it, jump on there. You might find some value. I do want to say, too, that so we as partners early on decided that actually I decided, and I finally drugged my partners into agreeing that we should meet every quarter for strategy and planning because I'm a strategy geek. So every time that we do that, I send out a survey to our customers, and that's honestly one of my favorite things is reading through what you guys want, and it really determines the direction of our company and our efforts. So over the next week, please keep an eye out. I'll be sending a survey before we meet for our next planning and strategy meetings. And it's more, you know, it's to give us some insight on what you guys find most valuable about what we currently offer, where you think we might have some shortcomings, and where you think we should go as far as what kind of lead types you would like to see from us. And there's probably going to be some options in there that you might not have even thought about because nobody else is offering that type of lead, and we're pretty close on some pretty exciting things. So keep your eye out for that survey. I mean, we usually have 100 or so people respond, but I would love if we could get everybody to respond to that so I can kind of see what you guys think is valuable, because the more feedback we have from you, the better we can develop what you want. So I don't have it set up right now, but look for that survey in the next week, and please take 2 or 3 minutes out of your day and give us some feedback.
Excellent. And to get into the Facebook group, just go to All the Leads Mastermind on Facebook and just request access. Chad will verify that you are a realtor and, you know, verify you have a Chad, what's your criteria? Just somebody who's active on these calls or one of our members, basically?
I usually stalk people for 72 to 96 hours, bribe them. We're looking for professional people who can add value to the group, and it's pretty, you know, it's easy to tell when somebody fits that criteria. So it's pretty
Excellent.
Subjective, but.
Perfect.
And I will say we have lenders, we have agents, we have brokers. There's a lot, you know, there's a lot of people in the community that can bring value. So it's not, you know, if you're a lender and you're here because one of your agents told you about this and you want to be part of the group, then we can accommodate that.
We've had a few lenders sign up recently to distribute the leads to their realtors, which I thought was a really creative way. And if a lender calls and gives you a lead, you better give them a deal, you know, especially if it turns into a closing. We also have a pretty significant, vast majority of our clients are realtors, but we do have a number of investors in there also. First thing I tell the investor, if you're buying and paying for leads, find a good realtor, because only about 10% of these are going to be investor deals. 90% of them are going to be good listings. And we tell the agents the same thing. You know, if you're strictly an agent and you don't invest, find a good investor, because about 10% of the deals are going to be good buy and flip opportunities. So it's really a community where it's not lenders against mortgage people against realtors. It's really a system where we can all work together. So that's great. Well said. Tom, anything you want to add from a support customer service perspective?
Nothing specific today, Jim, but hopefully everyone knows that if they need anything, we're here at support@alltheleads.com. Just send us your request. We document those and track them and get back to you as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I think our average response time, it's always going down. I think it's about 20 minutes now. Now, if Tom takes 25 minutes to call you back, don't get upset. But we're pretty proficient at getting right back to you, and be as specific as possible in your requests. So the best person to help you will be the one to get back to you. All right, excellent. Well, we have 3 people in the queue. We've got room for at least 3 or 4 more. Again, hit *6 and hit 1. We'd love success stories. Challenges are okay. Anything you guys need help with, this call is for you. And now we got a 4th person there. Excellent. So let's go to the first person in the queue. Phone number ending in 4335. You're up.
Hi there. It's Eric Larson from Seattle, Washington.
Hey,
I've
welcome,
gotten a
Eric.
number of questions. Thank you. I haven't gotten into the mailbox motivator completely yet, so these may be covered in there. But I have gotten historical leads from December forward, and I'm wondering where to start with them. So what's the best timing to start mailing? In other words, should I start them all at once, which I think would flood me with calls, which is maybe a good or bad thing? I don't know. Can you just give me an idea there how you would approach that?
How many leads do you have in total?
Total of 387.
No, you won't overwhelm yourself. I mean, the direct mail, I mean, it doesn't all come at in one 20-minute period. It's not quite like an email blast. I mean, if you email 300, you're probably going to have 6 or 8 conversations off each time you touch that list. So, I mean, most direct mail has a 0.5% to 1% response rate. We see more like a 2% response. So you figure, you've got a 6 phone conversations inbound, and then you're going to follow it up with the outbound call, so you're in control of that.
Okay. Now, I would be looking to hire an ISA to follow up with those phone calls. Good or bad idea?
It's a great idea. It's very hard to it's easy in theory, and it's for me at least, it's proven to be not very effective in practice. Like, it's tough to get, because this is, it's a different type of conversation. If you do go the ISA route, don't follow everything that we teach about the initial conversation. That's too deep for an ISA.
Okay.
What I've learned in working with ISAs is you need to their sole purpose should be setting a phone appointment for you. They shouldn't really talk about the estate or talk about the real estate. They shouldn't try to go down that path, because they're typically not going to be qualified enough to build trust with the person.
Sure.
So if you do have an ISA, the sole purpose would be, hey, I'm calling for Eric, my boss. He's got a super busy schedule, but he really wanted to explain to you guys what our team does to help families who have inherited properties. He's got a spot on Monday at 3. Would that work? And keep it that basic. Because if they try to go into your unique selling proposition and talk about what you do, and it's just really hard to do from a third-party standpoint. So make sure they're just setting phone appointments, not talking about your service.
Okay. From a positioning standpoint, I think that's how I'd like to do it anyway. Just instead of the first call being me, hey, he's busy. I like the dynamic of how that sounds. I don't know if that's effective, but I guess I'll try it.
It has been. So we've tested it with. I've trained ISAs for a couple of other subscribers, and it has been effective that way.
Okay, great. And then when you say follow up, how many calls should be? I guess this kind of changed based on your answer, but my original question was, how many calls should the telemarketer type person be making to follow up on these leads? Should they call until they get someone on the phone, or?
Yeah, ideally, until you've had contact, you should continue to call. And
okay.
you know, I know there's people on this call that have 500 leads a month, and they've got 6 months worth of leads, and you know, you've got to look at your own bandwidth. But if you have an ISA making calls for you, I would, you know, their direction should be until you have a two-way dialogue with everyone on this list, continue to call, and I'll continue to pay.
Okay. And then one other thing, and that is, I understand you guys don't want to divulge how many subscribers you have in each county. How can we ensure that the same letter isn't being used by another subscriber in our county?
That's one of the extra things that we do. I mean, we pride ourselves on, you know, really concierge level support. And one of the things that we do in our mailbox motivator department is through our quality control, no two letters will be sent in the same county. So
okay.
Let's say if someone's sending the probate options letter and you place a mail order for probate options, it'll red flag, and we'll call you and say, hey, you should probably use a different letter template because someone else has you know, customized this one.
You'd probably look like a fool if you sent the exact same letter, especially being the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Great questions. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank
Three
you.
more people in the queue, guys. We got room for more. Star 6 and then hit 1. Next up is phone number in 1878.
Hello, this is Bernard from the Baltimore metro area.
Hey, Bernard. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing? So I'm actually really new. Tomorrow, I believe, is when I'm expecting to get like my first batch of leads. So I think the caller before me pretty much asked my question, but I still wanted to follow through. So in the very beginning, I heard that, you know, with the leads, you want to send mail out and then make a follow-up phone call and kind of do that at least once a month. But, you know, in my training, calling leads, we should, like the gentleman said, call until we make contact. In this situation where someone has passed away, should we still follow, you know, most realtors, especially if you're trained in like Keller Williams, you know, we're trained to just call until someone says stop calling, or, you know, you just call until you make contact. In this situation, do you find that still effective, or should we dial it back a little bit?
Well, I think it's just a matter of frequency, right? So if it's a FSBO or an expired, you've got 17 or 28 agents in your backyard they're going to make the same phone call before 8 a.m.
Right.
With probate, you have very little competition, and so you don't need to hammer them like you would other seller lead types, because it's you know, it's just a slower paced prospecting. So to call somebody every single day for 2 weeks when they're not returning your calls is, I think, obnoxious. Okay. If you put them on a follow-up and touch them once a week until you have a conversation with them, I don't think that's unreasonable. You just have to, you know, just like with anything, put yourself in their shoes and say, you know, what would I think was reasonable if I were in this situation? If I were completely freaking stressed out, I know I need to talk to that guy, but I'm just not ready for it. Like, do you want to call every day? Would every week be reasonable? Would once a month be reasonable? And just kind of approach it that way.
Okay. And then two more questions. The second one is, are the leads the family members specifically, or will they be attorneys in there? Like, how when they come through, whoever the executor of the estate is that who the lead will be?
It is, and that could be anybody. It's, I would say, 80% of the time it's a next of kin, like a family member, an immediate family member.
Okay.
But you're also going to have people who didn't have children, who have, you know, they're estranged from their families, who didn't trust their family, and they appointed their banker or their attorney, or you know, they're someone completely unrelated that they trust. It's really, so if there was a will, if they died in testate, then the will name that executor. If there wasn't a will, then the state will appoint somebody from a priority list, which is usually next of kin.
Okay.
And if there is no next of kin, then the state will appoint a third party, which is a fiduciary or an administrator.
Right.
That's less. It's not real common, but you will find people that kind of fit all three of those categories.
Okay. And my last question.
Before you do, Chad, if you would expand on that a little bit. You've mentioned before, if it is a fiduciary, a coin-appointed executor, that's somebody you really want to get a hold of because they're probably doing multiple probates. And once you establish a relationship with them, you can get, just like getting a good attorney who's doing a lot of deals, you can get additional referrals from that person. So don't avoid calling that person. That's somebody you really should get a hold of.
Okay, yeah.
And also it's more of a B2B transaction, so it's less emotional.
Right.
They didn't just lose a family member. They just gained a file on their desk.
Right.
So, helping them get that file off their desk is
and when the lead comes through, if it happens to be that fiduciary, does it? Is there something in there that kind of lets you know? I don't know, maybe worded a certain way to let you know that it is a fiduciary?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
You'll sometimes see, that when it's an attorney or like sometimes I've had a few that were like, Bank of America Wealth Management Department or something like that, or Bank of America Trust Manager, whatever it is. Sometimes you can tell, but not always. I mean, if John Doe was the attorney and someone at the county recorded him as John Doe, not John Doe ESQ,
right,
then or whatever his designation is, then you might not know that John Doe is an attorney until you make the phone call.
Okay. All right. And my last question is, and this might be a little crazy or stupid, but the mailing. So when I get the leads, do I need to go into the site and request mailers to these folks, correct?
So have you done probate fast track?
I have, but I haven't done it. I've gotten the title attorney that I normally use. He sends leads my way or just through referrals of friends. So I haven't had to call, anyone. Like they were pretty much handed to me and they wanted to get done. So I have done estates before, but not, I didn't have to contact them directly. They were brought to me.
Gotcha. So probate fast track is our kind of step one training.
Oh, yeah. If you asked about the fast track, I did do that.
Okay. So if you've done that, so next go into subscriber resources or subscriber portal. Mm-hmm. On the left, click on Mailbox Motivator, and at the very top center, you'll see a Mailbox Motivator demo button. And that's like a 6-minute video that will kind of give you an orientation on how to use our online editor, how to place the mail order, and how to automate your mail.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
And if you get stuck, just send an email to support@alltheleads, and Mark will call you back and help you with it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. Let's see who's up next in our queue. Phone number ending in 3866. You're up.
What number was that?
That's you. or we wouldn't be able to hear you.
Jim, this is Kelly in Laredo, Texas. How are you?
Great, Kelly. How about yourself?
Fine, thank you. I'm just listening in. I've read your materials and waiting just to be set up. So, I'm following everything that you all are having your guidelines for training. So, just waiting around.
Excellent. Anything we can help you with? Any questions?
None whatsoever. I think it's pretty clear on what our job is and how we have to approach it. So, and listening to you all, I think I get some ideas. So, no, everything is doing fine. Thank you.
All right. Welcome aboard. We have 2 more people in the queue. Next up is phone number ending in 1189. You're up.
Yeah, this is Belinda Reese in Maryland. And actually, the question is, yeah.
You're a frequent contributor. Thank you, Belinda. Thanks for always participating. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, the question was very similar to what the first person asked, and then actually what the second guy talked about as well, and that was the frequency. Because I noticed that as I call through the list, quite often, this is like what expires too, you don't really get a hold of the people, and I just didn't want them to see on their voicemails like, call after call after call. this one person, that I was hunting them. So I think pretty much what I had thought, which is about once a week until I can catch up with them, was something that was reasonable, and that's something you mentioned. So we kind of just added credibility to that for me. And that's what the main question was.
Perfect. Any questions or anything we can help you with?
No, because that question was that was the question. How frequently, I didn't want to seem like I was hunting them, that kind of thing. So that question was answered. One thing you mentioned in the first with the first caller, ISA. What is that? Some type of agent that's doing the calls for another agent? What is the ISA?
It's an inside sales agent. So most typically it's somebody who's on your team doing outbound prospecting.
Oh, team. Okay, yeah, I'm just an individual agent doing my thing. Okay.
All right, welcome aboard. I was just going to add, I often get asked, how soon is too soon to call them, and as soon as you get that lead, reach out to them. You've got a 60 to a 90-day window. Typically, the attorneys tell these people, okay, I filed your probate, it's going to be a few months till you can sell. So typically, these people are sitting on their hands for a few months. So you want to reach them as often as possible in that first 2.5 months. When the attorney tells them, okay, the probate's almost completed, that's when they get proactive. That's when they start reaching out looking for agents. So you want to reach them before then. And yeah, I think we all agree once a week is probably a real good frequency where you're going to eventually get a hold of them, but you're not going to annoy them or aggravate them. So that makes great sense. All right, well, we have two more people in the queue. Phone number ending in 8228. You're up.
Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Chris calling out of Port Charlotte, Florida.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I'm just listening. I'm going to be making calls in just a little bit, but whenever I first got started, I was very hesitant at making calls. A lot of it was like overthinking it. But what's some advice that you can probably give like other callers that are on here that are also in the same position? Probably they might be a little bit too nervous to start getting started making calls, or also ways of just overcoming adversity. Say if you have like a bad day making calls and stuff like that.
So
go ahead.
You put yourself in the hot seat. So, do you believe in what you're doing? Do you believe your offer is valuable to your ideal customer?
Yes, I do.
So it's just a matter of being really clear on that before you get on the phone every time, and knowing in your heart that these people are better off speaking with you than not speaking with you, and they're better off speaking with you than anyone else. And when somebody blasts you, like if you hear something on the phone that rattles you, just remember they're under a lot of stress. They've got a kind of a preconceived notion of what a realtor does. We don't have the best reputation of professionalism, so just don't take it personal. Take a deep breath and remember why you're doing this, and help them understand that. So help you. Your job is to, if somebody has the wrong perception of what you're doing, your job is to fix that for them. So to help them understand you're doing the right things for the right reasons, and you're damn proud of it. And when you do that, it's amazing how you can turn those ships around and have really good conversations. So, it's if you the other thing. So if you get rattled on the phone, something I try to have everybody do when we do uncover the landmine, and it's not very common, but every once in a while you're going to hit somebody that's just they're having a bad day too. I find it really helpful to sit down and write that person a letter. And you say, listen, my name's Chris. Here's why I'm doing this. I think that you probably, misunderstood what we're trying to do. And just write out why you're doing this and help them understand it. And it helps you, it reinforces your why. It helps you get that off your chest for that day so you can continue on with your calling. And if you drop it in the mail and give them a chance to read it, maybe that'll change their perspective, and maybe they'll call you back with a different tone. And maybe they don't. But either way, you still had an opportunity to remind yourself why you're doing this, and you did something to get that off your chest so you can move on.
And I would just add to that, remember, the typical person you're calling, more often than not, they're not local. They might be 1,000 miles away. They've got a life of their own. They've got a lot of things on their plate. This got dropped on them as their responsibility, and often they're sharing the proceeds with a couple siblings that are counting on them to get this done. So it's a vast majority of the time it's a welcome call, and they're glad to hear from somebody that can help them. So just expect that they're going to be glad to hear from you, and you'd be surprised how often you'll be right.
Mm-hmm. And some additional encouragement, Chris. We hear, I would say, 10 times more comments where people are surprised at how grateful the folks were when they started making the calls than we do of people getting blasted. Every week somebody says, "My gosh, I just can't believe how you guys were right. They actually wanted help." And so it's a lot of times, we ourselves have these perceptions. We're like, "Oh my gosh, people are going to think I'm horrible because I'm calling in this emotional time." And what we find is, if you do believe in what you're doing and you're confident in that, people are very receptive to this because they really do need the help.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know. A lot of it was just overthinking it at first, but you do start to just get the feeling like, man, why didn't I just give this a go a long time ago? That's all it really takes is just starting and just taking action.
All right. Anything else we can help you with?
Well, yeah, I was also kind of thinking this. Based on your experience, I usually have better success probably around 2 to 4 in the evening, just over where I'm calling. But based on your experience, what do you find is the best times to call?
So I read a study by MIT, and you can actually find it in step 2, maybe step 2 or step 3 of Probate Fast Track. You can actually download this, but in a nutshell, MIT did a study of 86,000 real estate prospecting calls, and what they found is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. gives you about 160% higher close ratio on real estate prospecting. So you got your evening block is dead on, you're already doing that. You might just look at doing some midweek morning blocks of 8 to 10 a.m.
Okay, perfect. I just wrote that down. All right, well, I guess that's all I had for questions. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for participating. We have one more person in the queue. We probably have time for, we got 2 in the queue. Okay. If you do want to participate, *6 and hit 1. And we may go a few minutes over today, guys, as we usually do. We'll get to everyone. Next up is phone number ending in 7878. You're up.
Hey, Jim. Hi, Chad. How are you guys doing?
Hey, great. Who's this?
This is Mike Foley.
Hey, Mike.
In Arizona.
Yes, sir.
My first mailing went out yesterday. In fact, I just got the email from you guys, the Motivator team. My first mailing went out and saying it went out and if they have any questions, etc. So I'm pretty excited here. Let's see, but I do have a couple of, I have 3 questions. Number 1, let's say I have 100 leads, but there's only 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 attorneys that I want to contact. Either I know them or where their offices are located, whatever, that sort of thing that I would like to develop a relationship with. How do I just mail to just a handful of attorneys from each set of leads each month? Is there a way to do that, or do I just create a new CSV file and just upload that? Well, what's the process?
And by the way, Tim's on the call, Chad. Tim, do you want to answer that, or otherwise Chad probably?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do it. I just got on and apologize for dragging in here a little bit late, but I had family in and had to see them off back to 30-degree weather. You can mail to anybody that you want to. In other words, if you want to do a specific mailing to a specific group of people, you can upload a custom list right back to us. So if you'll pick the attorneys that you want to send to and you want to put a letter together to them, just create the list, dump it into an Excel spreadsheet. You can upload that spreadsheet to us, and we'll help you. And all you really need to do is just send a message to support at all the leads, and we'll be happy to have somebody call you and walk you through what needs to be done to do that, and we'll be happy to mail it. I would point one thing out to you. You said 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. If you're considering doing an attorney mailing, one of the things that you want to do is you want to take a look at what you got in terms of your leads. And you may know the attorneys that you're talking about, but you may also find from looking down the list of the attorneys that you have for your market that there may be several attorneys on there that you don't know who are handling multiple probates in your marketplace. And those are people you definitely want to build a relationship with. And I know that in Chad's training, one of the things he talks about is how to build those relationships with those attorneys. But if you've got an attorney who's doing multiple closings or multiple probates, that's a guy who'd be a tremendous source of referral for you. And if you can get the inside track with that guy by showing him all of the things that you've done to develop expertise in probate, you're home free. Now you're going to get referrals. And we have people, a couple of our very, very best guys who've done extremely well, who've developed those relationships, and they really built their business around those referrals from those attorneys in addition to the leads we get them. So don't just go to the people that you know. Go to the ones that are doing a bunch in your market and send to all of them.
That's a good call. In fact, you're right. I have noticed that already. And if you watch Bud's testimonial, I think Bud is up in Nebraska. Remember, he's in about 18 months, and they developed relationships he's already developed with attorneys, and the number of leads that he's already realizing is quite phenomenal. And that's in your website. That's one of the testimonials under your blog.
And by the way, I think Bud gets about 23 leads a month, I believe. It's not, even a rural area, and he is just killing it with a very low lead count. That's great.
And the beauty of that is that if you're an attorney, you're always trying to deliver the best result you can for your clients. And remember that a lot of times the attorney's not going to get paid until that probate closes. So anything they can do to help get that job done quicker, if you can convince them that, you're the ticket to them getting paid faster because of all the services you've got, and you can help people get the houses cleaned out, ready to be sold, moved faster, and you've got a better way to go, well, they're going to be your new best friend. And that's a key element in terms of building this. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I have to share, and I don't know if you were on the call last week. I would repeat a story from one of our newer subscribers, I think up in Pennsylvania. He noticed an attorney every month doing 4, 5, 6 probates. He called, he stopped by, he dropped off packages, couldn't get through to the guy, so he called the office and asked, what is Mr. Johnson's hourly rate? I want to book an hour to come in and meet with him. So we basically paid $200 to sit down with the attorney and pitch, and the attorney was just, I'm sure nobody's ever done that before. And last we heard from him, the guy had given him like 3 or 4 referrals, and obviously you're not going to do that with your whole list, but when you identify a player, do whatever you have to be able to get in front of them.
I remember that story. That's a great story.
Yeah.
The next question, thanks for that. Number 2, email. I just literally got the email about 2 hours ago. It says, congratulations, your mailing went out, and that's my first one. It said to check the status and schedule for the mailing. Click here, and so I went there, and what it does is just takes it to the looks like the subscriber login page. So where under there, I'm sure if I just campaign set up or my campaign mailer, there's just one of those where you check the status of the mailing. I'm just kind of curious. Hello?
Tim, did you understand the question, Tim?
Oh, well, the question is...
I'm sorry, I'd gotten off. Yeah, it'll tell you, all it's going to do is affirm to you that, in fact, that it went out. It'll show the date of the mailing and all that. It's under the support area. Okay,
that's fine. That's fine. It's just kind of my...
Okay.
One more question. I think Chad has mentioned, that he's used, at least for the initial calls or sometime in the past, slide broadcast. That's what I was thinking of doing for my first call. Just, hi, this is Mike. He even gives the recording, hi, this is Mike. Sent you a letter last week, just checking in to see if you got it. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call back. Slide broadcast, what do you guys think of that idea?
How many leads do you have?
Right now, only 50 a month.
Are you going to make those calls otherwise?
Eventually, you mean, or initially?
Be real here. Will you make those phone calls?
Oh no. Will I make those 50? No, because this is my initial. No, to answer your question, Chad, no.
Okay. So thanks for being honest. If you're not going to make the phone calls, then recorded voicemail can be a good substitute for that. If you're going to have a much better contact rate and you're going to make more money and help more people if you make the phone calls. But if you're true to yourself and that's not going to happen, then I prefer over slide broadcast. I prefer voice casting. It's just from Voice Logic. The reason I like them is you can actually speak to a real human, and they can help you upload your list and give you guidance on on how to use their system. And the gentleman to talk to there is Steve Lindo. And there's a discount. Like they give you, I can't even remember how many, but they give our subscribers like 300 free minutes. But if the calls aren't going to get made otherwise, that can be an effective way to do something.
And thank you. And I was being candid with you. What was the name of that voice? What?
It's Voice Logic is the company.
Okay. Voice Logic. Okay.
And voice casting is the product.
Ian, I'll take that one last step. I'm anticipating on really expanding this. And I think your second caller was talking about kind of working into the calls, and then after a while you said, why did I wait? Why didn't I just make these calls initially right up front? That's what I see happening. Is once you realize, there's no doubt you'd probably get better response if I just, don't mess around with this, just make the calls and be done with it. And I don't doubt that's exactly what's going to happen eventually, but it's just my mindset. I just got to start getting through this and seeing how it works and evolving into actually making the calls. But in fact, I've already got it all set up. I mean, the recording's done and everything that Chad's, his message. I think, don't you make the first call a week after or so after the first mailing goes out?
Try to drop it a day or two behind your letter. So
okay.
The day that you find a letter in your own mailbox, everybody else did too. So drop your call that day or the following day.
And I think, Chad, and I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, I think that's what I heard on one or two or one anyway of your either on YouTube recordings or something that you have used Voice Logic or something of that nature.
And I'm a huge proponent of live phone calls because, I'll be transparent here. I use it because I just simply knew my phone calls weren't going to get made because I was, running multiple companies and working 7 days a week and just didn't have the time. So it was effective for me. But when I have coached and helped other really tenacious prospectors who actually make their phone calls and they do it in those call blocks that we discussed earlier in this call, they have a 2-to-1 contact rate. If I was lucky, I would get 2 callbacks out of 100 when I was doing the voice messages.
Okay. All right.
So
well,
that's 50 opportunities to speak to somebody and get business, even if it's not probate versus 2. That's why I'm a huge proponent of making the calls if it's going to get done. But if it's not, you're better off dropping a voicemail than saying, "Wow, 3 months in, I wish I would have done something. I wish I would have called those people." That does you bet make sense. And listening to Bud and you Chalk on the phone, I don't want to sound patronizing here, Chad, but your voices, especially Bud, just kind of a good old, just no sales pitch, no heavy sales. It's pretty just easygoing conversation, and I can see that happening. Guys, I appreciate it. Appreciate your time here. And
we appreciate your participating. Thank you. Last person in the queue will wind up the day with the phone number ending in 2817. We saved the best for last, so you've got a great
Okay, this
is
a real good one. This is Annette down in Birmingham, Alabama. And we actually have a case where there's a deal on the table, but this person, it's a husband and a wife, got a divorce. In the divorce decree, the wife had no ownership to the property. The husband paid the note. He was supposed to sell the property a year later, and this is the second year. And she has at this point joint tenants in common because they changed the law here on survivorship.
This is not a probate.
What they did was
it doesn't sound like a probate, right? Is it a probate deal?
Well, that's the question now. That's what it looks like. Because let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
The guy was actually supposed to sell the house, and he didn't really want to, and he died.
Oh, okay.
2 weeks after we looked into all this. And so he's passed away, and now because it's tenants in common, the family comes in, the heirs. And so now we were going to sell the property and list it. The problem is now it's going to have to go through probate, evidently, because the family can't pay it. She can't pay the note, and now the house is getting ready to probably go in foreclosure. What would you suggest? I mean, we're going to see an attorney right now. Actually, she's here, but we're going across the hall to the real estate attorney. But can she rent that house out?
Who is your client? Is the ex-wife your client?
Yes.
Okay. And
the ex-wife.
She, I thought I heard in the beginning that she had no ownership rights after the divorce.
As far as selling the property, he had to do it. She was just trying to get her name off in the divorce decree. Then her name is off of the property. He could keep it, but he died.
Okay. So her name is still on title.
It's still on title.
And she holds title as tenants in common, so it's her house for all intents and purposes.
That's correct.
Okay.
But now the family is in it because they're the heirs to the husband.
Right. So, was there a will?
Nope.
Okay.
We just found that out.
So the attorney is going to give you the guidance here. My guess is that the attorney is going to say, does your client doesn't want to keep the house. She wants to sell it, correct?
Right. She has a house.
Yeah. So if there was no will, there is a divorce decree. That pretty much severs the relationship between them, but that means that she basically owns the house and it's outside of the estate, is my guess. So the attorney will give you the best guidance on unraveling that. Now, you said something else. It's going to go into foreclosure. What's the debt? Or is there a mortgage or a reverse mortgage? Or
$182,000. It's a mortgage, and it's $1,500 a month.
Okay, and how far
none of them
delinquent
can pay it.
How far delinquent is it?
1 month.
Is there equity in the house?
Yes. It's a hot property. We didn't even get the sign up, and we listed it because, the first, her attorney said, yeah, you can do it. And then we find out they passed a law in Alabama a year ago that instead of survivorship, tenancy and instead of joint tenancy where you get survivorship, now it kicks it to, after a divorce, to tenants in common. So the heirs come in. The mom and the dad, they're both on disability.
I have no place giving you legal advice, but I will give you marketing
advice. I'm just saying.
I'll give you marketing advice. You've got a group of people who can't afford to pay for an asset that has equity, and everybody agrees that it should be sold.
Yeah.
So you should have a sign in the yard before sunset today.
There's a in the yard, and her lawyer is saying she could go to jail. We're getting ready to get with our lawyer. They're over there now, across the hall.
So here's the deal. Everybody wants to sell. It sounds like there's no hostility. There's no malice among people.
That's right.
So go sell the damn house and let the title company close the chain of title. Like, your job is sales and marketing, so go sell it.
I gotcha. And then we're going to see what this attorney, our attorney is a real estate attorney.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that could happen in that circumstance is that if the parties could agree, if there is in fact heirs, all the attorney has to do is get the heirs to agree to quit any claim to your client and let your client sell it and have an arrangement of sale between your client and them to split proceeds however they agree to do that, and then just get the house done.
Got it. That's what I said. Quit claim deed and we're
Excellent.
out. Okay, then. You know what? This will get us the money to join your group permanently. I have 4 new agents, and we're going to look at – we don't have that many probate here. It's only $30 a month, so.
The good news is you got a deal already, and I just have to tell everybody who's brand new thinking, oh, dang, this is complicated. What you just described is about 1 in 1,000. That's a very unusual situation. So,
but I knew you guys would know because you helped tremendously just listening to your seminar every week. You guys, even with general real estate, you just don't know. This has been just awesome.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate it. A great way to end the call. Thank you. You were the last one in the queue. I can't think of a better end to it. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Look for the survey that Chad mentioned. Please get that back to us so when we meet, we can find the best way to do even a better job of making all this material relevant and giving you what you want. I always like to end these calls by challenging you. You spent 40 minutes to be here today. Take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you today. Go out this coming week, put it into action, and come back next Thursday and give us the results. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. We'll talk to you same time next week.